I come to you this evening from the unceded territories of the Anishinaabe and Algonquin peoples. I say that with a great deal of gratitude, and I say that in the spirit of true allyship. As the descendant of the Black diaspora who has suffered its own history of oppression and colonialism, I will always stand as a strong ally with Indigenous peoples in their calls to action and their calls for justice and the fight for self-determination and sovereignty. Je fais partie de la communauté noire et je suis un descendant d'esclaves. Comme beaucoup de Canadiens noirs, le colonialisme m'a volé mon identité originelle. Je suis une alliée prête à soutenir et à suivre les dirigeants autochtones dans leurs appels à l'action et à la quête d'autodétermination. I want to thank Green Party members. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I know that this was, and we can see from the results, what an incredibly difficult decision this was, how many talented people were in the pool of candidates. We have demonstrated to Canadians what incredible talent the Green Party can attract. And I want to thank every member who placed their faith in me to lead the Green Party of Canada. It is a privilege to be able to represent you, and there is no doubt that I will give my all to that work, because I know, and we know, that people are better off in Canada when there are more Green Party members representing them. So my job is to be your strong voice, carrying that message to the people of Canada and working to get Greens elected. I want to extend my sincere thanks and congratulations to the other candidates who ran in this race. It was 9 months. We gave it our all. We gave so much of ourselves because we believe in the party, we believe in the future of the Green Party, and we laid it all on the line. I know that we all did. And so I want to congratulate them and their teams and let them know that, for my part, their sacrifice has been appreciated and recognized, and that there is a role for them in the Green Party of Canada. I hope that they will join me in building this next phase in the Green Party of Canada's life. And I want to thank my family. This is my husband, Mark, my son Malachi, my other son Jonas is on the phone because he is away at school, but he's here, technology. And I want to thank them so much. There is no one that can go through the bruising, brutal, exhausting sport, blood sport, that is politics, without the support of their family. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart. My sister Ngozi Paul is here, Michael Paul is here, my brother-in-law Evan is here as well. I thank you all so much for every single thing that you did for me and with me and on behalf of me and our campaign for all of these months. Tonight, we have to recognize that this is an historic moment. We, as Greens, yet again, once again, are leading the way. We have done something that has never been done before in Canadian politics. And I congratulate you. I say this, and I thank the Green Party, and I also acknowledge all of the shoulders of the people that I stand upon tonight. I stand upon the shoulders of Elizabeth May, Alexa McDonough, Audrey McLaughlin, and Kim Campbell. I stand on the shoulders of Jean Augustine, David Lewis, Rosemary Brown, and Viola Desmond, and all of the people who opened the door so that one day I could walk through it. Thank you. And tonight, I thank most of all our volunteers. I thank them for believing that something that had never been done in the history of Canada could be done and would be done. Alors, je prends le relais. Je prends le relais des femmes comme Elizabeth May, Alexa McDonough, Audrey McLaughlin et Kim Campbell, qui ont ouvert la voie aux femmes comme moi. Je prends le relais de Jean Augustine et Rosemary Brown, Viola Desmond et David Lewis. Et ce soir, surtout, je prends le relais de chaque bénévole qui a contribué à notre campagne, tous ceux qui croyaient que quelque chose qui n'a jamais été fait auparavant pourrait être accompli, et je le remercie. The big gaping hole for me tonight in this celebration is my mother's absence. My mother is 84 years old, and she believes in Canada. She believes in Canada, and if I'm speaking French that people understand, it's because my mother was determined that her children would be bilingual. My mother is not here tonight because she is 84 years old and we are in the midst of a pandemic. But when my mother came to North America in the 1960s, she came at a time when many states and many parts of this continent were still segregated. And I know that at the moment when she was deciding whether to take that bus for the March on Washington, that she never imagined one day her daughter would be elected to lead a national party in Canada. And so I think of my mother tonight and I thank her, and I realize that this terrible, terrible pandemic is the thing that has kept us apart. Aujourd'hui, je pense à ma mère de 84 ans et à son arrivée en Amérique du Nord. À l'époque de la ségrégation raciale, à l'époque, la ségrégation raciale existait toujours dans de nombreux États américains. Elle n'aurait jamais imaginé qu'un jour, sa fille dirigerait un parti national. Nous sommes séparés ce soir à cause d'une pandémie, une pandémie qui exacte un énorme prix de chacun de nous. And as we think about this moment, and as we think about the pandemic, I think about my father. My father died at the end of May. He died from the neglect that has caused thousands of people to die in our long-term care facilities. He died of an avoidable infection. And on the day that he died, my sister called me. My sister called me in tears, and she said to me, "We have got to do better than this, Annamie. We have got to do better than this. We have got to know what a life is worth." And so that is the question as we face down this pandemic, as we face down the climate emergency, that we must constantly ask ourselves, what is a life worth? This is the question we must answer. Que vaut une vie? Alors que nous faisons face à des défis sans précédent, comme la pandémie et la crise climatique, voici la question que nous devons garder dans nos esprits. Que vaut une vie? There is no question that we are facing the two defining challenges of our time. How will we build a complete social safety net that allows every person in Canada to live in dignity and security? And how will we tackle the existential crisis of our time, which is the climate emergency? When I think about the social safety net, again, I think about my father, but I also think about every single student that is not going to be able to go back to school this year because they didn't get the jobs they needed this summer and because the government didn't provide them with universal post-secondary education. When I think about the climate emergency, for instance, I think about the people who have to decide whether they need to leave their homes because the insurance will no longer cover them because they live on a floodplain that is being ravaged by extreme weather events. I think of the fires that seared the throats of many of our team members in British Columbia out west just a couple of weeks ago. And I think of my brother Michael, who until recently was a worker in Alberta's oil patch and working as a roughneck, and all of the members of his crew who are tired of the boom and bust cycle that has associated itself with our continuous thirst for fossil fuel extraction and his desire to have a job with a real future. So when I think about these big challenges, I think also about the other parties. And what I realize, and what many of us have come to realize during this period, is that the other parties are simply out of ideas. They are intellectually exhausted, and they are out of ideas. This is a moment that demands daring, courageous leadership. And this is something that we simply did not see in the last speech from the throne. Again, this is a government that is intellectually exhausted. Alors que la situation exige un leadership politique audacieux et courageux, je suis forcée de constater que les autres partis politiques sont à court d'idées originales. J'ai écouté le discours du trône en espérant d'être inspirée. Malheureusement, je n'ai entendu que les mots creux d'un gouvernement qui est intellectuellement épuisé. You have matched a leader to the challenges of this time. I also believe that we need to match a party to the needs of this moment. And there is no question that that party is the Green Party of Canada. We are the party for this moment. And when you look at our policies, the ones that we were championing, all on our own, voices in the void, in the dark, when other parties simply did not want to hear, did not want to talk about them, the flames that we kept burning all along, whether we are talking about long-term care reform, universal pharmacare, a guaranteed livable income, the Green Party blazes the paths that other parties follow. And this is the moment where this kind of innovative, evidence-based, daring, political policy thinking is absolutely necessary. When we look at the climate emergency, we must acknowledge that the Green Party remains the only party that has a target and a plan that corresponds with the science and can get us to where we need to be to save the future of our planet. And we have a good news story. This is a good news story. This is a story that the Green Party is going to fan out, and I will fan out to share with people in Canada. This is the chance of a lifetime for us to move towards a more just, a more resilient society on behalf of people in Canada and behalf of people around the world, and we believe that it can be done. So as we look at the ways that we intend to spend the historic amounts of money that will accompany the stimulus that we are going to need to have to repair the economic and social damage of the pandemic, the government needs to be investing in a green transition. A transition that represents the most extraordinary economic opportunity that we have ever seen, and that will set us on a path for the future and set us up for the future. I say to people in Canada that ultimately the choice is yours, because if we want different outcomes, then we need to make different choices. That begins with our choice in political leadership. And it starts right here, right now. I am running in Toronto Centre in the October by-election. And let me tell you why, okay? I was born in Toronto Centre. My mother taught in the schools in Toronto Centre. My grandmother worked as a frontline service worker in the hospitals of Toronto Centre and broke her back doing it in the process. I will not abandon the residents of Toronto Centre to a Liberal Party that has neglected that constituency, that riding, for the last 27 years. I have had enough of candidates being parachuted into that riding and then taking the next train out of town until the next election comes around. This is a riding that is in need of real help now. It is the center of the opioid crisis. It is one of the least affordable ridings in the entire country. It has one of the highest child poverty rates in the entire country. It is the center of the urban Indigenous population in Toronto. And I say on behalf of residents of Toronto Centre, enough. Enough. And so I call upon every single person in Canada, and not just Green Party members, who are tired of that cycle and who believe that their neighbors and their friends and their fellow Canadians that live in Toronto Centre deserve real representation. I call on them to join me and join us as we fight to win that seat and to give them that real representation. Alors, à toutes les personnes qui ne s'intéressent plus à la politique parce qu'elles ne s'y sont pas représentées, je dis, faites de notre parti votre maison. À toutes les personnes qui s'inquiètent de l'avenir de leurs enfants et veulent de vraies actions pour contrer la crise climatique, je dis, rejoignez-nous. À toutes les personnes qui comprennent qu'on nous conduit sur les mêmes sentiers battus par les mêmes vieux partis et qui sont prêts à s'engager pour une nouvelle voie, pour un avenir meilleur, je dis bienvenue. I say tonight to every person in Canada that has tuned out of politics because they didn't see themselves reflected, I say, make your home with us. To every person that is worried about the future of their children or their communities and want to see real action on the climate crisis, I say, join us. To every person that understands that we are being led down the same old road by the same old parties to the same old destination, I say, if you are ready to strike out on a new path toward a better and brighter future, welcome, and thank you.